Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the final qualification round of the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. My name's Connery Medic, and I'll be your commentator for this evening as these drivers, like I said, have that one last chance to be able to get themselves booked into the grand final here of the NGK SPARK PLUG's Esports Cup. And, well, there's a lot of pressure going to be riding on these drivers' shoulders as we are heading into this one at the Hungaroring. So let's have a little bit of a look as to, well, how we got here. We had our first qualification round at Spa-Francorchamps, of course, and then we headed to Motorland Aragón. Then we went to Dubai, and now we are here. Round number 4 at the Hungaroring. The final 4 drivers that get automatically qualified will also be deciding the best of the rest, so to speak. The top 24 that's in the point standings that weren't top 4 in any of the individual events. They'll be able to book themselves a slot in the grand finale at the Nordschleife, where that's where everything's going to be reset. Winner of the round at the Nordschleife is the winner of the entire tournament, no matter what has gone on beforehand. So that's the slightly different thing here about this championship compared to many other championships you might be aware of there in sim racing. So it's it just puts everything on that final round at the Green Hell. So let's see the drivers that will be competing here in this last chance qualifier. I'm going to run with that for the entirety of this broadcast. There are the names, of course. The drivers have been able to qualify themselves through the weekly leaderboards leading up to this point. It's basically a time trial. Get yourself the fastest time. You might be able to get yourself a slot inside of this race. And, well, the drivers are split, of course, amongst the 3 different manufacturers. The Mercedes-AMG GT3, the Audi R8 GT3 Evo, and, of course, the Porsche GT3R as well. We have unfortunately had a few dropouts of this race, so it's a little bit of a smaller field compared to what we are used to here in the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup. So, but for the drivers that are here, perhaps that is a blessing in disguise. It means maybe a little bit of an easier route for them to get themselves involved in that final at the end, well, in just a couple of weeks' time. So this is how things are going to work here. Of course, we are about to get ourselves qualifying underway. We'll head into our first race, of course, and, well, just the grid for that is going to be set based off of a normal qualifying session. There are points for qualifying as well, so that's certainly a thing to keep note of here. 5 points to pole position, of course, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down to 5th place. And, of course, race points is 40 points to the race winner, 34 to 2nd, 30 to 3rd. The top 21 drivers will be getting themselves points in this series. And, well, currently we only have 22 drivers in the server, so there'll only be 1 driver per race missing out in terms of the points here today. We've got race 1, of course, will be 20 minutes long. Then we get race number 2, which will be another 20 minutes long event. However, there will be a top 10 reverse grid based on the results of race number 1. So that's going to shake things up a little bit. And hopefully we get a bit more action towards the front, because there has been occasions in this series where the driver at the front has kind of waltzed away at the very front of the field. So hopefully that will make sure that we have excitement all the way to the very end. Of course, fixed setups here as well in the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup. So without further ado, let's take a little bit of a look at where we'll be racing today. So, of course, in the Porsche here, the Porsche GT3R, coming across the start-finish line, charging our way down in towards turn number 1. Of course, big overtaking point at this track, and this is a track where overtaking can come at a premium as you file your way into there. And again, make sure you maximize every single bit of track limits possible, as much as the sim would allow, in fact. Then you get yourself swung in towards turn number 2, a very winding left-hander as he descended down the hill. Then you've got this right-hand kink coming up as well. Make sure you get yourself a good run through there. Benefits you as you start to climb the hill once again into the most exciting corner on the track. I get the feeling it's turn number 4. You just flick your way through there. The exit's completely blind before you get yourself up over the crest and now into the winding right-hander. You can see he's sliding out a little bit there. You don't want to do that so much. in race conditions, given that you don't want to burn up your tyres for the very end of the race. And now into this bit of a fiddly section here, these medium to high-speed corners, which don't really lend themselves well to side-by-side racing, but at least on the qualifying lap, which will be so important here today, crucial to get the line right and to not lose too much time, because it's such a momentum-based part of the circuit. You get out of line through the first couple of apexes, then you've completely butchered the entire section. Now into the final sector, though, coming up towards of course, turn 13 this. We've got 2 hairpins here at the very end of the lap. Clamber all the way up over those curbs. Use the pit lane entry there just to keep yourself the momentum up, and then file your way through the last corner of turn 14. Maximize the traction, potentially to give yourself a run on your opponents down in towards turn 1. So qualifying is live out there for our last chance qualifier here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. Drivers, of course, on their outlaps here for the moment, and well, soon will be able to set themselves some representative lap times to see where everyone stacks up over the course of this next couple of moments. It's absolutely fantastic to see. Of course, we've got lots of drivers taking part here today, which we've actually seen throughout the season. However, they have not been able to qualify inside the top 4 points in any individual event so far to automatically qualify themselves through. Many of them will be pretty safe in terms of top 24 in points. However, you do want to sort of go out in style, don't you, and get yourself that automatic qualification into the grand final here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. Here is Julian Kunze, who we've definitely seen over the course of this season. He's going to go purple through Sector 1 and Sector 2, dealing with a little bit of traffic towards the very back end of the lap here, which can indeed be a massive, massive problem. But for Kunze heading his way up across the line now, we've got Sebastian Ries setting himself the first qualifying time of the day. Kunze getting himself up into provisional pole position there with a 1:44.021. Daniel Burker there, again, another name that we're used to seeing here in the Race Room Esports side of things, getting himself at least in the top 3 spots. We've got Ian Egan getting himself up into 2nd place there as well. So lots of statements being made already with regards to the top couple of positions. We've got Georgi Georgiev there down in P6 at the moment. We've seen him over the past couple of rounds, hasn't really been able to find too much success. Looking to have a good performance here in the final qualification round to book himself that slot in the final at Nürburgring. We've seen Sebastian Ries about as well. He's currently 1.3 seconds off of the pole position setting time. However, still lots of room and lots of time to improve over the course of this qualifying session. We got many laps to go for drivers to be able to set themselves their best times. We've got just over half the field setting themselves times here at the moment. Sebastian Ries, of course, on for a little bit of a banker lap here, which is so important to get in these situations, because you don't want to be getting towards the very end of the session with just a couple of minutes to go, potentially just one flying lap, and you not having set a time just yet. That means that all the pressure's on that one lap, and if you mess up, you're going to be starting towards the very back of the starting grid for that particular race. Here's Enzo Philippou, the Frenchman from JD Esports. Currently hasn't set a time just yet, however that Sector 1 is looking pretty good. So let's see if he can hook up Sector 2 here in that Porsche GT3R. Sliding his way through the apex there. That's not exactly going to help in the lap time department. Let's see what the sector time is, as he's going to be coming towards the end of it now. Personal best, however, this is unlikely to be a top of the leaderboard time for Enzo Philippou, unfortunately, due to that slide, and he has an absolute monster of a final sector here. Yeah, and he takes the tow back to the pit lane. So that is the option that he's gone with, just wasting no time. He'll be back out there. He will be able to get himself at least a lap in before this session is done. Here's Christian Orban, of course. The privateer is not associated with any team, and well, he goes 3rd fastest here in this qualifying session in the Mercedes. dealing with a little bit of traffic on the way in towards turn number 1 with cars coming off of the pit lane, which is not exactly ideal, but that's the card that he's been dealt. Meanwhile, we've got down the order, we've got Daniel yet to set the time in the Audi. So just a handful of minutes to go. Some drivers do have to get themselves a move on. We've got 22 entrants into the server here at the moment, and only, let's see, 16 lap times being set. So quite a few drivers leaving it into the very last moment to be able to get their lap times up onto the board here. Daniel's not even on a lap here at the moment, so yeah, he's going to get one in. He's just trying to find himself a little bit of space to work with, just lets everyone go and make sure he has a clear track to be able to go onto a flying lap. Christopher Carlson has also not yet set a lap time. Leonard Carton, though, going provisional pole position by 0.4 of a second. That is a fantastic lap time there from Carton, really stamping his authority on this qualifying session. But are there any other drivers going to join him? Ian Egan heading his way across the line now. That's the start of flying lap there. Provisional pole position time, 1 minute 43.6. That's the benchmark that these drivers will be looking to beat here. Although that being said, a comfortable top 4 finish in each of the 2 races sets yourself up pretty good for the, well, getting yourself the automatic qualification spots into the finale at the Nürburgring. Julian Kuntz, of course, provisional pole, but Carton with that last lap goes within, well, bang on, 0.5 of a second behind. So pretty close between P1, P2 at the moment. Are there any improvements further down the order? Well, Ian Egan's got himself a marginal improvement, still purple through sector 1. It is a pretty short sector as far as ratio is concerned here, of only about 35, 36 seconds long. The amount of time, well, the lap time largely dependent on this middle sector. And Ian Egan looks like he's got a little bit of himself, got himself a little bit off track there, which is why it seems like he's abandoned the lap as Leonard Carton dives it down on towards the pit lane. We've seen Orban doing personal bests here at the moment. His actual sector 2 was 0.5 seconds faster than his previous effort. So this is looking like a pretty tidy lap here for Christian. Making his way through those final couple of corners now with only 34 seconds left on the clock. You can see how much he's trying to push that car around. Wanting to step out, wanting to slide around a lot. And again for the final corner, completely bottles it and has to take the tow back to the pit lane. Julian Kunze getting himself onto pole position here, of course. There are times pending, and that's why we just have to wait before saying anything too official, because Enzo Filippo's got himself up into 3rd place on the starting grid with a last-ditch effort. Ian Egan down to 4th place with Mikael Lapnik starting in 5th. Christian Orban starting in 6th with Daniel Burke in 7th. The rest of those names, of course, on your screens right now. Luke Rokas to be rounding out the top 10. In terms of those drivers that did not set themselves a time, well, there's only one. Vance Farkas, all the way towards the bottom of the order, did not set a qualifying time. So drivers getting themselves prepared now. Going to be imminently taking themselves to the starting grid to really kick off this last chance qualifier. Of course, points given out for that qualifying session. From P1 into P5, bonus points. Could be absolutely crucial when it comes to deciding whether you're in on or out of that final race. Here we go then. We're just about to get ourselves racing here at the Hungaroring. The last chance qualifier here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's Esports Cup is about to get itself underway. Julian Kunze from pole position brings us to the green flag. We're racing down towards turn number 1 here. It was a poor start by Leonard Carter, which allows the run from the Porsche, potentially around the outside in towards turn number 1 here. Philip Pau going the long way around here on cold tyres can be very, very sketchy indeed. He's able to hang it out there. Tries to follow through in the tyre tracks of your race leader and pole position sitter of Julian Kunze. Kunze forced to actually go defensive in towards turn number 2 here as Carter decides to go on the charge. We've got ourselves a little bit of an incident towards the very back of the field. Multiple drivers involved in this one. Per Daniel, one of them. Mike Pasmenko as well. All tangled up there, it seems, towards the very bottom of the order. The very front, though, at least the top 10, has been able to get themselves through rather unscathed. Big, big challenges, big looks happening at the very front of the field, of course, with Philip Pau's great start and Carton trying to turn defense to offense. But they've all strung out single file now as they try to work their way through this technical middle sector. It's great to see the different, well, the 3 different manufacturers, currently 1 through 3 here at the moment, which is fantastic to see, and maybe a commendation to the race administrators with regards to the BOP. But heading our way out the final corner now. Across the start-finish line to complete lap number 1. Julian Kunze leads from Leonard Carton, from Enzo Filipao. Then you've got Ian Egan and Mikael Lapinek rounding out the top 5. Some separation happening already towards the very front of the field. Meanwhile, there's a dive down the inside there by Daniel Parvan over Daniel Burker. The battle of the 2 Daniels. Burker keeping himself ahead for now. Parvan to the outside in towards turn 2. A little bit squirrely on the brakes there. Still has half a car length alongside, but can't really capitalize on it. Some slightly different lines being taken through the kink at turn 3 here, and now up in towards turn 4, it's not really an overtaking opportunity. I wouldn't want to go side by side through here, that's for sure. Even if it were possible. Now you have to relax a little bit, perhaps in towards the until the final couple of corners, where you get your next obvious opportunity in an overtake. Running on board the Porsche of Parvan. Next position just 0.4 of a second further down the road here. Climbing up all over those curves, much more than what Burker was doing just directly ahead. Trying to exploit every single advantage possible here. Especially when you know so much is on the line with regards to those final slots in the final. Burker getting a much better exit though out of the final corner, allows him to extend his advantage coming down the pit straight. Starts to run for the hills, starts to try and break the slipstream now and chase down those, well, those top 5 cars. Further behind, you've got a bit of a Mercedes battle. Christoph Nagy trying to defend from the driver over Sylvester. I'm gonna struggle with this one, folks. I'll be honest. Sloboslazi here. So Sloboslazi trying to hang it around the outside here after trying to get away at well-gained position. Now fighting it out with Nagy. Nagy trying to commit around the outside. They're going to continue wheel to wheel up and towards the blind left-hander. Oh, I was just mentioning how scary it is to go too wide through there, but somehow these 2 were able to make that work. They continue on the battle through turn 5 as there's a little bit of contact, and as the driver around, Sylvester's around, the Mercedes dropping towards the very back of the order and has to get that car pointed in the right direction. I get the feeling that was always going to happen there between those two. Showing no fear, the ultra aggressive, too wide, up in towards turn 4. There's only going to be one loser in that one, I'm afraid. Gives us a little bit of an opportunity to focus our attention elsewhere. There might have been another driver having problems here. That's Ronald Sen in the Porsche. We didn't quite see what happened there to, well, cause Sen to be off the circuit, but down into P21 now. Unfortunately, everyone, we won't be able to get ourselves replays here, as is the nature of things on these particular streams. But Sen, engaging the recovery drive now, has to. Remember, of course, the grid for race 2 is based on the results of race 1 with the top 10 reverse grid, so it is in your best interest to carry on no matter what, just to get yourself a better starting spot in race 2. This battle though, Craig Curtis versus Mike Pasamenko. This is a battle much further down the order, but still valuable. You do get a handful of points for finishing back here at the bottom end of the top 20. Yeah, Daniel, of course, is one of those drivers that we saw have an early instance, so he's charging his way back through the fields. Positions prime for the taking directly ahead. Absolutely locked onto the back of Pasamenko there, although Craig Curtis, he made a bit of a mistake, and maybe the arrows will pile on top now as it all stacks them up. Coming through this middle sector, Daniel is looking for every which way to try and get himself past, but he does find a gap. Slots himself in, gets himself ahead of Pasamenko. Forceful move, yes, but one that he was able to make work. And now he sets his sights on Curtis in that red AMG Mercedes ahead. René Irma also on the back of this one as well. While these guys were all fighting in and amongst each other, he was able to gain a whole bunch of time over this group. It's always the risk after an extended side-by-side fight is that you allow third, fourth, fifth, sixth parties involved. Just having a little bit of a check-in with regards to our race lead here. Julian Kunze, of course, pole position sitter, able to maintain the race lead for now, but he's being joined at the moment by Leonard Carton. Carton's not really giving him a lot of room to breathe as far as this race lead is concerned. Both of them are broken away by 2 seconds over Enzo Filipao behind. So maybe a couple more laps of this, and then Carton will really try to turn up the heat to try and get the race win. Although, you do have to do a little bit of race management, or rather season management, in these events. Especially when you consider top 24 and the overall points go through to the final, as well as the top 4 from any individual event or individual race day. So personally, I wouldn't take too many risks in terms of going for the race lead if I knew a solid P2 was on the cards. Less than 0.4 of a second between these two at the front now as they head their way across the start-finish, and charging our way back down towards turn number 1. Carton, of course, having a healthy amount of slipstream at this stage. Not that it is a significant effect here at this racetrack. Of course, you take everything that you can get. Further behind, you do have some battles that are relatively close. You have this one for P12, Sebastian Ree and Ben Safarkas, both in the Porsche. Like I said, overtaking at this track can come at a premium. Requires a lot of work to try and make these passes happen. Further back, you've got René Irma pressuring the back of Peter Daniel. You've got Pasamenko on the back of Craig Curtis. So there's multiple potential flashpoints here in this one. You don't want to go away for these final 10 minutes of this first race at the Hungaroring. And remember, we have that top 10 reverse grid race coming up a little bit later on as well. Gap for the race lead, though, comes down ever further. Here's the view from the rear end of Julian Kunze as he looks back to Leonard Carton, and Carton diving it in aggressively in towards that final corner. Let's see if he has the legs on the way down in towards turn number 1 to make any sort of forceful move towards the inside here. And, well, how forceful will that move be? Will it even exist? Well, Carton stays in line for now and lives to fight another day. Looks to try to find the inside coming off the corner there with a slight bit of hesitation from Julian Kunze. They might be side by side here in towards turn number 2. Is there an overlap? Well, there must have been the slightest of overlaps there. Kunze feeling the need to go ultra defensive. Now on the way up and towards that kink. Oh, Kunze, he had a bit of a messy exit there out of 3, so compromised his line into 4, and now here comes the challenge. Here comes the look, here comes the pressure from Leonard Carton. Surely not a move in towards the chicane. It's a bit deceiving there. Tight chicane, heavy braking zone, but not one that you tend to send moves at. It does seem like Carton has the clear, well, at least the pace at the moment to be able to match, if not best, Kunze. But how's Kunze's defensive driving here in these final 8 minutes of the race? See these differing lines being taken through the final corner. The Audi of Carton preferring to just sort of hug that inside line all the way around. Kunze, at least in that instance, deciding that, wait, I'm just going to take this as a double apex instead. Both of them equal on the way down in towards turn number 1, though. Looks like Carton carries so much more mid-corner speed, it looks like, though. Caught up through the middle of turn 1 so much there, but still can't capitalize on any of these gains he's been making. On board with Carton on the run up and towards that very tricky turn 4. This time both of them nail it. Carton's car just seems so much more stable than that leading Mercedes here for the moment. It's sliding around a little bit through the middle of the corners and the exits as well as he gets the power down. Car trio here for P11. That's Marcel Holak, Sebastian Ree, and Spencer Farkas. Again, these are just sort of micro battles here at the moment in terms of just gaining the tenths of a second required to be able to put yourself in a position to have a little bit of a go. And speaking of a go, there's a big lunge from Leonard Carton down the inside of Kunze. Not able to complete it through the exit of the corner. They'll still go wheel to wheel though. Down in towards turn number 2 now. That Mercedes AMG of Kunze on the inside will have the preferred line and keeps the Audi at bait for now. That was a massive shot there for Carton. He's been looking threatening all day long, and now it's up to Julian Kunze to try and hold on to this. Audi getting upset a little bit there. taking the, well, on the inside perhaps a little bit too much. Maybe clipping the grass just a little bit, unsettled the car. Oh, and a bit of a missed apex there as well from Julian Kunze. Mistakes starting to settle in now. Gap still remains just shy of 0.4 of a second between these two, with 4.5 minutes left to go, so just a handful of laps before we decide this one. And remember, we won't be done for the evening either, because we'll have a second race. The top 10 reverse grid. Currently, Luca Vertrick is the driver that's in provisional, well, in pole position for race 2 here at the moment. Being followed relatively closely by Holak, Farkas and Ree. So that's the battle for the reverse grid pole position. That might get a little spicy here at the end. Here it is. Vertrick, well, he's going to be pretty happy about having a second buffer back to Holak here. Especially considering we are getting ourselves very close to the end of the race now, and here comes Farkas with a big look and a big climb up all over the curb. But we'll lose the speed on exit and has to cancel the fight. It's getting a little bit too close for comfort now. It was a scrappy couple of corners for the Audi of Holak, though, allows Farkas to potentially challenge up in towards turn number 4. He goes underneath him. Holak forced wide. Not only loses the position to Farkas, but potentially to Sebastian Ree as well. I'm not sure if there was any contact between the two of them there. The camera didn't really give us the angle. But either way, changes just outside of the top 10. Back towards your race leaders, though. Coming up through that final corner again, you can see those obvious differing lines between these two drivers. Charging our way down in towards turn 1 again. Will we see another look from Carter? No, we won't. Not this time around, at least. Knows he has the pace. It's just about finding a way through now, and that's not an easy thing to do. Not at this racetrack, and not with Julian Kunze either. Definitely an incredibly seasoned driver here on race room. Same with Carton, to be fair. Wide arc there, wide line being taken through turn 5 by the Mercedes. Not really wanting to get its nose into these corners. A little bit of a wiggle there for Carton. Advantage just stretching and contracting with any moment, and again another micro slide is what I'll say for Carton there. That loses him a bit more time, and now gap over 0.6 of a second. Maybe, just maybe, this gives Julian Kunze a little bit of breathing room required to go ahead and win this race. See the slides once again through the entry of the final corner. Meanwhile, battle for reverse grid pole position is on. Luca Vertrick has been caught, and now Farkas is looking to try and go around the outside at the penultimate corner. Does he have the inside? Well, he's going to try and dive in on it anyway, in towards the final corner. Farkas really wanting desperately to gain that reverse grid pole position. 30 seconds on the clock as they head their way across the line now. Vertrick defensive in towards turn 1. The Porsche launching it around the outside once again. As Sebastian Ree sticks his nose in, it gets cut off as he has problems on the inside there. As the battle for the reverse grid pole position continues on. As Farkas, oh, he's got himself the line around the outside, and it's a spin. It's a spin for Vertrick, and it's a spin for Farkas as well. Oh, from hero to zero for Farkas there. He got himself reverse grid pole, and then he meant it himself coming off the corner. That is absolutely tragic there, and it means that Marcel Herlock gets himself up into that 10th place, that crucial 10th place. That's the pole position for race number 2. Here is the race lead then. Time has expired. This is, of course, the final lap. Carton, of course, with a couple of mistakes in that previous lap, has really not allowed himself the best opportunity to be able to do anything on the final lap about getting himself to the race lead. Final corner now. Another big wide arc taken by the Mercedes, but it's not going to matter in the end. Julian Kunze heads his way across the line to take the first race win here at the Hungaroring in the NGK Spark Plugs Esports Cup. One step closer to a slot in the final for Julian Kunze. Marcel Herlock is heading his way up towards the final corner now. Sebastian Ree in behind, but it's going to be Marcel Herlock that gets himself reverse grid pole for race number 2. In a crazy, crazy set of circumstances back there. Vertrick and Farkas come across the line together, P13-14. Well, that could have been so different, couldn't it? My word. Last runners, of course, sending their way across the line now. Roland Sen, the final points scorer. Craig Curtis and Christopher Carlson will not get themselves any points from this first race. So here are the unofficial race results. Of course, stewards will be looking at things after the race to apply any penalties where and when required. It is Julian Kunze that takes the race win here, followed by Leonard Carton, followed by Enzo Filipao as well. Solid points there for everyone who finished inside the top 5. But you don't get a lot of rest. The race number 2, absolutely imminent here in the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup. There's not a massive break in between these 2 races for these drivers here. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. You have to basically go straight in. And, well, we're in fact getting ourselves straight in right now with regards to getting ourselves ready to spectate this one. We had a pretty fantastic race there in that first instance, and now we'll be getting ourselves the action once again here in the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup. So we're just loading in towards the server now. Of course, there tends to be a little bit of a delay with regards to getting these things going here, but do not worry, as we will bring you more on-track action in just a few moments' time. There we are. There's the Hungaroring once again. Another race here this evening in the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup that we can bring to you, and it's going to be our last qualification race before we get ourselves that final at the Nordschleife, where the points get reset and the winner of the race is the winner of the championship. It's as simple as that. As pure a race as you can get it. But we've got one more to get out of the way first. So Marcel Herlock on pole position then. Rokas to be on the second row, starting P3. Christian Orban, second place. Of course, Kunze and Carton starting P10 and P9 respectively. The final qualification round's underway. Someone's had a nightmare at the very back of the grids there. That's Craig Curtis completely dumping it into the wall as we charge down towards turn number 1. Holok on the early challenge here as he barred his doors with Daniel Parvan as Holok has completely made a mess out of turn number 1. Opens up the inside. Someone's in the wall. This is going to cause a bunch of carnage towards the very back of the field. What a mess back there. Mikael Lapanek, Bertrik's in it. Holok's in it. Oh, that could have been gone. That could have been handled so much better, folks. Back up into the front of the field, though. It's Parvan that leads with those authoritative moves at the very start. Orban holds on to a second place for now. Rukas to be in third. Enzo Filipao fourth at the moment. This is a decent opportunity for him to be able to climb up the order. We know what pace he's capable of. We've seen it so many times throughout these qualifying rounds. The mathematics never worked out in his favor, though, in terms of finishing top 4 in a single event. A little bit of a fighting further back through the fields there. Leonard Carton and Georgiev. We've got Nagy as well here. Nagy in the silver Mercedes, or rather white and grey Mercedes, I suppose. Trying to fight it out with Georgiev there, but now he has to be looking at behind at the Audi of Peter Daniel. Swinging it through the final turn. Coming across the line to complete lap number 1. Lots of moves towards the pit wall to try and deter slingshots or dives down in towards turn 1. What a mess at the start. That was not going to work out. Parvan already trying to break away. He's got half a second over Orban at the moment, and Orban doing pretty well in terms of keeping Rukas to be behind here at the moment. But look at Kunze. He's already up into 5th place, of course helped by the various problems that we saw at the very start of the race. But as we continue with Kunze here as he gets his way through the chicane, might cause Enzo Filipao a little bit of a problem here in the next couple of moments if Kunze is really unlocking the pace that he has. Getting close to the penultimate corner, and a bit of a mistake there. Bit of a mistake from Rukas to beat, and now it's going to cause potentially a little bit of a side-by-side moment coming down the pit straight, although Filipao not able to capitalize on it. Was trying to do so briefly as we've had more problems at the very back of the field. That's Ronald Sen having a spin amongst the smoke out of the final corner. Julian Kunze looking down the inside of Rukas to be now. Mercedes on Mercedes action, and this time around Kunze's the one that comes out on top. So up into 4th place there for Kunze. At this point, if he finishes where he is now, that's basically him guaranteed to get himself inside that final round of the season. He was relatively safe anyway, considering it's the top 24 best of the rest that also get themselves through. So I get the feeling Kunze's just having a little bit of fun here as well, in addition to feeling safe with regards to the championship, or rather the qualification into the final round. Because of course everything gets reset, remember, in that final round. Winner of the race, winner of the championship and such. Pavan still leads, still by half a second over Orban. That's a bit of an overcommitment to the initial stage of the corner for Orban. It's going to lose him a bit of time. Enzo Filipao will gobble that up every single day of the week, although still not enough to be able to open up a move into one. Behind, little bits of fanning out here and there. Ian Egan on the back of Sebastian Rhee. Egan tempted to give the little bit of a push through the corner. You have to be careful when doing that though. You don't want to inadvertently spin the driver ahead of you and then cop an obvious penalty as a result. Carton behind this, who's got relatively stuck in this reverse grid race. Kunze was able to weave and sieve his way through the field quite efficiently, however, an opportunity hadn't arisen for Leonard Carton, who was matching Kunze throughout that first race. Still stuck behind traffic though. See if he's able to make any sort of progress though. Of course, a couple of positions do help. A couple more points in the bank. Pressure shouldn't really be that high, especially for these drivers towards the very front of the field. Meanwhile, had someone go round. That's Christoph Nagy. And remember, damage is on for these races, so I have to try and limp that car back. Not going to dive it down towards the pit lane. Going to try and continue on. So maybe not all that much damage for Christoph Nagy. Not significant visually, but sometimes there can be bits and pieces that are hidden here and there. And a little bit of a shuffle here going towards the top of the order. Julian Kunze past Orban now. And now Orban must have made a mistake there because he went from P2 all the way down in towards P4 there. Not ideal. Gifts Filipao position, gifts Kunze a position as well. And well, if there's one driver you do not want to give an easy position to in this race, it's Julian Kunze, because, well, he's just going to go in hard charge and run for the hills and potentially end up going and winning this race too as well. It's only 1.1 behind the race leader. And with 11 minutes and 30 seconds, that is more than enough time to be thinking about the race win. I'm feeling the need to all the way to the pit wall though. Not that there's any pressing need for it. Harvan is not in any sort of position to try and attack at this point. Psychological battles going on. Meanwhile, further down, you got Georgiev down the inside of Carton. So Carton sliding backwards, or at least that's what it looks like here at the moment, which is a stark contrast to what happened in race number 1. Really, really struggling to get going here in race 2. Maybe has a little bit of damage that we can't see, who knows. It's giving him the benefit of the doubt. Alpha P2 getting ever closer though. You can include the race lead in this as well. Julian Kunze has been on fire over the course of this second race and has put himself in prime position to take it all. towards the final sector now. We got half the race distance to go. Cover the top 3 with a blanket. Orbit's not too far behind either, if these 3 decide to scrap amongst each other. Very wide exit there from Kunze. Oh, a little bit of a disagreement up front there as well. To the pit wall we go once again. Trying to get that slipstream on the way down in towards 1. Plenty of time for this battle to be decided, of course. Parvan's done very well to hold on despite all the pressure here at the moment. But to be able to keep up this effort for, what, 9 minutes, plus whatever it takes to complete the final lap, that is not an easy feat whatsoever. Especially when you have drivers the caliber of those behind you. Oh, Filipao stacked up a little bit there behind Parvan. Might give the, well, Kunze a temptation to do something about it, but the move into the chicane is such a risky one. Incredibly tight for the race lead here. Is there a mistake from Parvan? Well, Filipao has been able to try and find himself towards the inside. They trade pain on the way in towards the final sector here. Battle for the race lead on your screens, everyone. It's Enzo Filipao going for glory here with 8 minutes to go. Continuing on the battle here through the penultimate corner. And this is where it gets dangerous because Kunze try and get his nose in here, try and follow through in the tyre tracks, but he's not able to just yet. All nose to tail on the way through the final corner. And this is not going to be done here, not by any means. Slipstreaming on the way down the pit straight. Opportunities surely for these drivers in towards turn number 1, but are they brave enough to go for it? No, they are not. Kunze taking a slightly wider arc through the corner, looking to try and get the speed off perhaps, although does make a bit of a hash of it. Lost them a little bit of time to Orban behind. As well, Rokas to be and Berker as well, all in that train that's bearing down on them. Kunze. I mean, he's still my particular favourite in this battle, despite residing in that current 3rd place. It's all about how he gets past Filipao here, because if he makes it an extended side-by-side, battle for a long time, then that gives Parvan the opportunity to run away a little bit and build a buffer. However, if Kunze can get disposed of Filipao quickly here, maybe the situation's different. Filipao's just basically riding the back bumper of Parvan coming through the penultimate corner there. Again, looking for that exit speed. You can see Kunze, his method is just go as wide as possible, it feels like, considering the track limits, or at least keeping them in mind. Interesting line on the entry there for Parvan, not taking the normal wide arc, but it's a sort of half a car width in. Definitely feeling the pressure at this stage. Filipao, he's found an overlap around the outside here. Kunze sticking his nose in, as he is entitled to do so, to try and disrupt the flow. Oh, Kunze's going to get stacked up here just off of the corner. Not able to launch it. Swinging our way into that fast turn 4. Only 5 minutes to go now. 5 minutes for these drivers to settle their differences. 5 minutes, and, well, we'll have most of our slots booked in for the final. Pending steward's review, of course. slight gap developing there between Pavan and Filipao. One that you really can't afford to have at this stage if you're the car chasing. See how paranoid Pavan is. He's going to the insides to sort of fake defense all of this, despite there not being any need to. Three cars in with the chance for the race lead here, and so we've had Ian Egan go round here. Awful camera angle, I know, but he's had a problem and has to try and let basically the entire field through as he struggles to get that car pointed back in the right direction. Meanwhile, race lead, another defensive line being taken by Pavan, a little bit of a shot to the back bumper from Julian Kunze onto Filipao as well. Things getting a little bit more feisty here at the very front. Egan still hasn't been able to get himself around until now. That's not ideal. And that Audi, not as it rolled off the showroom floor, but let's have a look at race lead battle once again. Kunze so close, and he's, oh, there was a gap there just for a moment, but there's a little bit of snap of oversteer from the Porsche, a snap from Kunze as well in the Mercedes, but he's able to gather it all up and maintain the position, gain the position. That's all that was needed. Just that one slight mistake, and that's the opening that Kunze needed. And now with 3 minutes to go and half a second, race lead might be possible as well. He's not going to shake Filipao that easily though, so he'll still stick around, he'll still be involved in this. Towards the penultimate corner with 2:40 left to go. It's going to be 2 laps to go at the line. 2 more laps of the qualification stages of the NGK SPARK PLUG ESPORTS Cup to try and find our drivers for that finale at the Nürburgring. Pavan still leads, has done so since basically the middle point of race 1. Not of race 1, lap 1 of this race 2. Battles behind as well, Leonard Carton and Sebastian Reen. That's the 7th and 8th place positions here for the moment. Might keep an eye on them if this battle at the front doesn't materialize, but I think it will, especially with how these drivers have been going at the moment. Pavan with the stellar defensive drive so far, keeping Filipao at bay, but now he has to try and keep Kunze behind. Like I said, don't count Filipao out of this either. He's taken a hit with regards to losing P2, but it's not out of the fight entirely. Still has the pace to run with this group. Might cause Kunze a bit of a problem if he decides to go for a move on Pavan. One minute to go on the clock. This will be, once we get to the start-finish line, that will be the start of the final lap here, everyone. And we might have a chaotic finish for the race leads. For all those podium spots, oh, Pavan, he slides it through the final corner. That's going to lose him a ton of speed. Coming off and on towards the pit straight here. A critical mistake. And now Kunze can try and find the line. He goes towards the outside, in towards turn number 1. Still chances for Pavan to try and defend this one on the inside here. Filipao on the outside looking in as well. Pavan keeps himself ahead. But a heart-in-mouth moment that he didn't need onto the final lap. Filipao swinging it out wide. That's not the optimal line, I'm afraid. Still chances for Kunze to try and make this one work. We're right on board with him on the run up in towards turn 4. He's been having the habit of a bit of a look through turn 5 as well. It requires such a huge commitment to try and make this one work. He's going to get squeezed out a little bit there. Not going to be too appreciative of that. Parvan still leads in towards the chicane. Parvan still leads coming off of the chicane, but there was a little bit of a bobble, and there's the attempt from Kunze that has gone all wrong as he spins out in towards the tyre barriers and files down in towards P8 there. A close battle at the very front, ends in tears for one of our competitors. Kunze P8. Time has expired, everyone. Filipao, second place. You'll get promoted. Orban up into third as well. Orban does have a little bit of damage, but thankfully for him, it is the final lap. So not all that much Filipao can do about it. But after a frantic finish, it is Daniel Parvan that comes across the line to take the race win after taking the race lead early on lap number 1 of this event. Parvan takes the win. Filipao in second place, and Christian Orban will round out the top 3. Rest of the drivers heading their way through and across the line now. We were setting up, of course, for a fantastic finish. We got a battle at the very end there, but it doesn't end in the way that people would want it to end, in an incident. Well, that's just racing sometimes. Ian Egan comes across the line there. P20, not been a fantastic day for him. And Ronald Sen with those, well, problems early on and problems now, it seems, as he spins it just on the entry to the final sector there, the final complex. Well, an intriguing event. Daniel Parvan takes the race win. Filipao, Orban, that's your podium finishes. Of course, the race administrators will be frantically doing the mathematics in the background to see who exactly finishes where as far as the points are concerned. We'll get the provisional results just in a couple of moments' time. There we go. Parvan, Filipao, Orban. Then you got De Bie and then Burka rounding out the top 5. Carton finishes in 6th with Rhee in 7th. Kunze in 8th with Daniel in 9th, and Pasmenko rounds out the top 10. Then you got Georgiev, Zena, Lapanik. And then you can see the drivers yourselves further down the order. Drivers that had problems like Curtis, like Nagy, like Egan, like Sen, like Farkas and Carlson. Many of these drivers, of course, will not be joining us for the final. So, with that all said and done then, what an interesting event it was, as we will wait for a little bit while drivers potentially might get themselves the opportunity to come and have a little bit of a chat here on the broadcast. But of course, we can show you a little bit of an old graphic, by the way. So remember, this has not been updated just yet, but these are the drivers that had qualified themselves already through round 1, 2, and 3. So in race 1, we had Yuval Rusin, Ilya Dvosikov, Colin Blankenberg, and Luciano Vitvo. They all got themselves their slot in race 1. They had the easiest time of all, pretty much, because they did race 1. Now they don't have to do any race until the final. Then you had in race 2, you had Maximilian Renz, Mihai Negsin as one driver. Unfortunately, did not accept their qualification in towards the final there. And then, of course, out of Dubai Austrum in round 3, we had Marius Zabda, Jonas Riedel, we had Nico Cernel and Cody Lutovsky there qualify themselves through the race or the races at Dubai. We'll have another 4 come from the Nürburgring here, the drivers that have scored the most points out of the 2 races that we've had today. And then we'll have the top 24 best of the rest based on the results throughout the season. So that's how it's going to work here. It's a little bit complicated, I do admit, but that's just the way things are structured here just for the moment, as we might be able to get ourselves the opportunity to talk to one of the drivers that put up a pretty crazy defense in that second race there, Daniel Parvan. Just take me through the start of that race, at least in race 2 there, Daniel, because we saw you make the forceful moves on lap 1 to be able to get up into the race lead. How was that from the driver's perspective?
I had that, hello. First of all, I had that Mercedes in front of me. I couldn't see almost anything when I braked. So that was the first thing. And then the Audi turned on me. I had no clue what was happening. Rest of the race was okay, I'd say. I'm kind of sad about the incident in the last lap. I need to rewatch the replay so I can find out who's in charge for the incident. I have no words, man.
Yeah, it did seem pretty crazy, and of course, throughout that race, you had drivers on the back of you. You had Filipao, you had Kunze at the end there as well. Just take me through, what your approach was to that, because it seemed like you were, at least from the body language of your car, if that makes any sense, that you were a little bit paranoid. You were always defending the lines into the corners, even though it may not have been necessary. So just take me through what you were thinking then.
I was, to be honest, I was afraid, to be honest, of Filipao a little bit, and Kunze, of course. I mean, I was trying to not give any space possible, and just go with the flow and try to win.
Yeah, I mean, and when you did, but we didn't get a fantastic view of the incident or the situation that happened with Kunze there at the end. What was your opinion or perspective of it?
I don't know. Like, he lunged on the inside. I mean, yeah, he had the right. I have nothing to say about that. But I need to know like what caused the contact. If I turned in too early, or it was just just a normal contact. I have to look into that.
Yeah, well, I guess you'll look into it. Maybe the stewards will look into it as well. But
yeah, for sure, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as a result of that. But I'll leave you get going now. Hopefully, it's a good outcome that allows both of you to join us for the final round of the season. That's my diplomatic answer.
We hope. We can only hope.
But I'll leave you get back and enjoy your, well, I guess, provisional win at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
That was Daniel Parvin there, race winner from race number 2, and we'll get to speak to his direct competitor there in that second race. We'll have a little bit of a chat here to Julian Kunze. Julian, what a race 2. It didn't quite end the way you wanted it. However, in the initial portions, you were charging through that field like a hot knife through butter, to use a phrase here that we use in the UK. What was your mindset in that race? Because, of course, given you had competed having competed in these rounds, you should be relatively safe already with regards to the final. But just take me through your thoughts, if you can, and you're not muted and you have the right audio device set up. Maybe we'll.
Sorry.
Yep. There we go.
Now I'm audible.
Anyway, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course. I can hear you. So just take me through race 2, if you please.
Yeah, race 1 was quite exciting as Leonard was always challenging behind. I did some small mistakes, so he was able to keep up and put quite amount of pressure to me. I survived that luckily and took the win. Race 2 was a good start from the line. And took some advantage in the chaos in the beginning, where two cars crashed into each other on the in the approach of the second turn, and I gained like 2-3 places already. Then there was some single file action, and behind Enzo, I was able to overtake the one or the other until the end. And unfortunately, twice not space given to me. Once in the approach to the chicane where I got pushed wide, and the second time where I was alongside him, and he turned in too early, unfortunately, and destroyed my race too.
Yeah, of course, the stewards will be looking at everything after the proceedings here today. But either way, especially given your race one finish with the points as well, you should be good even if you don't qualify in the top four from this round. Like in terms of the top 24 from the best of the rest, with the rest of the rounds, you should still be through to the Nürburgring. So. What are your thoughts on that now? Because we get all our points reset at this stage coming into that final. Does your mindset change knowing that only the race win will do in the final rounds? Like you either win it or you don't. Like that's the entire championship. Does that put any added pressure on you?
Not really. So I'm quite glad that the point are resetted because I was not able to attend the last two races. So and therefore, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the final. Also loving the track Nordschleife. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. It should be a whole bunch of fun. But we'll let you go and we'll have a conversation with Carton here in just a moment. But hopefully everything turns out okay and you can join us for the final. And if so, we'll see you then.
Yep, thank you.
All right, then. That was Julian Kunze there, who we saw a lot of over the course of this evening. We'll have one more interview with one of our drivers here. We'll have a little bit of a chat here with Leonard Carton. And Leonard, that was a solid 2 races from you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely. I'm really happy, especially with the first race. I had a lot of fun chasing down Julian. It was sometimes I was quicker, sometimes he was. In the end, couldn't quite make the move. So definitely a great racing with him. And second race, in the middle of the race, I had a little bit of a mistake in the final corner. The rear just snapped on me. It wasn't quick enough. But luckily, I didn't spin completely, so I managed to make those positions up again. And yeah, generally, I'm really happy. I also confident that I qualified for the finals today. Gonna see.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we would definitely be excited to see you in that finale. Is there what sort of preparation are you going to do for that? Is it just going to be logging as many laps as you can at the Nordschleife and hoping that you're on the pace, or what's the situation going to be?
Well, that at least, and on top of that, because Lutkowski last year, I was really confident with my qualifying pace before the actual qualifying happened on race day, and then I saw Lutkowski just pulling, like, I still remember 1.5 seconds off me, and I was like, damn, he probably it's open setup, right? So I think he's obviously a really good driver, but I couldn't imagine how he still got 1.5 seconds just with driving. So I'm gonna use Motec actually, doing a little bit of data analysis, try different wing settings, maybe more straight line speed, and then I'm gonna put in quite some hours because I'm really ambitious to get in top 3 this time.
Yeah, that's the goal, and hopefully you're able to get that. Yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, that's going to be on the 14th of March here for the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup. It's going to be an incredible one, especially given the format, especially given the venue as well at Nürburgring. We'll see you there, Leonard, and hopefully for yourself that you're able to get the glory that you want.
See you there. Thanks. Hope so.
All right, thank you, Leonard. And well, unfortunately, that is going to be all that we have time for here today. Of course, we'll have a little bit of a break in terms of when we'll get the finale going. Of course, that comes a little bit later on. You can see it up on your screen. It's been up all this time. On the 14th of March there is going to be the finale at the Nordschleife. So that is the time where we're going to crown a champion. There's no other way I can say it. The points get reset. And the winner of that race, winner of it all. So that's the situation. That's going to be all that we have time for here this evening on the NGK SPARK PLUG Esports Cup. We've been streaming live on the Race Room YouTube channel and on the Facebook as well. We've been on the NGK YouTube and, of course, on Traction GG as well. But I've been Connery Maddock, and we'll see you for the final.